Hey guys, if you're watching this on the replay or on YouTube, hey, I'm so glad to have you during this video. And if you're watching it on the replay, please comment throughout the replay as if it's happening live, and I will get back to your comments. I'm just going to give it a couple minutes to see if anybody hops on. Today we are doing a live going over the 8 different Clair senses. Here's Aphrodite. She probably won't stay for long. I'll put her up here for like 2 seconds. Nope, she doesn't want you guys to see her face. Hey, Patience. I'm not sure if I can see comments yet, and I don't have my computer because I accidentally broke it. That was unfortunate. After my last live, I tripped and fell, and it broke. So, hey Haley. Oh my gosh. The first live I don't have my computer, I swear my comments are probably not going to work. That would be my kind of luck too. Okay, well I'll give it another minute, and yeah, I don't think I can see comments, which is very unfortunate. And ironically, the entire time I had my computer, I could see comments on my phone. First live that I don't have it, no comments. That's a little unfortunate. But I'm glad to have you guys that are here. Today we're doing a live going over the different Clair senses. Since I can't see the chat, it will probably be a quicker live. And I just have my notes here, so that's what we'll be going over. So, it was a really requested video that I was seeing when we were posting our post asking for new live ideas. People were mentioning a live about the Clair senses, so I decided to try to do that for us. Also, we did have messages go out today and a post be posted on the homepage of Unseen Witches Society asking for if you have any new live ideas, and you could totally drop them there if you have any, because we definitely do them that are there. I know for a fact myself, if I see like a live in that list that I know I could do a live on, I will instantly find a day for it when I see it, because that's just what I like to do. That's what I did with this Clair live, and I've done that with quite a few lives I've done. So a lot of times when you hear about the Clair senses, you'll most commonly hear about 4, but there are 8, so we're going to go over all 8. So a little basics to get started with, like, what does Clair senses like mean? What are Clair abilities? What am I even talking about? So they are, in a spiritual sense, they're used to like connect deeper within yourself and to the spiritual world, physical world, and they're also used with mediumship and divination. Hey Erica, hey Kaylee, hey Serenity. Unfortunately I can't see comments. I don't have my computer. I said before, but I don't really know how many people are in the live. After my last live, I tripped and fell, broke my computer. So no comments today, but I have our notes and the show will go on. So they're a lot more in depth than your like 5 basic senses. So I'm sure we're all aware of like touch, sight, smell, taste, hearing. So those basic 5 senses. But these are a lot more in depth, and it's connecting that physical realm, yourself, and like the spiritual realm, like kind of all together. And like I said, there are 8 Clair senses, and 4 are commonly acknowledged, but there are 8. So the first one that we're going to start with is clairvoyance, and this is the clear sense of vision, so like psychic sight. It is the most famous one, the most heard of one that you hear about, but it's one of the least common to actually have. Lots of psychics who like are even professional psychics, they don't use this sense sometimes because they might be a lot stronger in others, like other senses. So, but then obviously, you know, there are people that are gifted with the clairvoyance, so they might be really good at it. Like for instance, I know Angel, she can do that. That's a really strong one of her senses, and she's really good at that. So people often assume that all psychics are clairvoyants, meaning they have like the sight aspect of it, and not everyone that considers themselves a psychic does have clairvoyancy. It's also called a seer or a remote viewer, is like a different term that people will use. Also, psychic sight is another word people use. Hey, Carol. So, you may have vivid psychic dreams and premonitions, which means seeing scenes from the future which may come true. And then you can also see dead relatives visiting you. It's not limited to these things. Those are just some things that you may see. So more things that you may see with clairvoyancy can be external and internal. And so what do I mean by this? It can manifest like a projector screen that gets pulled down in front of you and kind of like plays like a movie for past, like a movie of the past or the future, you know what I mean? Sometimes you may also be seeing it as if it's like appearing right in front of you and like outside of your body, but like right there, like as if you feel like you could reach out and touch it. And then it also could be something that you see like in your mind, and like it's basically like you're dreaming or you're imagining something insanely vividly, but you're perfectly awake, you know what I mean? You're just seeing it in your mind rather than physically in front of you. And then it can happen like out of the blue. It can happen when you're fully awake. It can happen during meditation. It would sort of just depend on the specific person. So for instance, let's say someone is clairvoyant and they have it super strong. Like, I'm going to use Angel again, for example. I don't think she'll mind because she shared it on lives, but she turns off that a lot of the times, so that way she isn't being overwhelmed by the amount of input she would be having. Whereas on the opposite hand, somebody else that is clairvoyant might have to sit down and meditate and really put themselves in the space to be able to access that, if that makes sense. And both are equally valued, both are the same, like, you know what I mean? But it just depends. It's all very personal to you with what's going on. So let's go to the next one, which is clairgustance, and I'll spell it CLAIRGUSTANCE. This is a clear sense of taste, being able to orally detect psychic information. And I wanted this one to be next. It's when the least known or the least talked about. But it is most commonly used in mediumship with connecting to spirits. An example of this could be if you're doing a reading for someone's relative or just someone who passed away in a car accident, you might taste like blood in your mouth. Or if you are doing a reading and you start tasting garlic or chili or some different spice that maybe your grandmother or someone that you love used to cook for you, that's how you could maybe tell that they're there, because you're tasting it. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people often experience the taste in relation to blood in their mouth, in like random places, especially if there's a lot of like tragedy in that location. So that's sort of a little gist about what that one is. So let's move on to our third clairsense, which is clairsense. This one's hard for me to say. Let me mute that real quick. This one sounds like a different one, so it's always a pain for me to say, but I'll spell it for you. It is CLAIRENCE. I even listened to the pronunciation before we started the live, but I knew I was going to screw that one up. That one is a clear sense of smell, i.e. being able to nasally detect psychic information. And I don't usually use the specific Clair word. I'm going to be honest. Usually I use one of like the different words. Like for instance, with the first one, I provided some references: see a remote viewing, or psychic sight. I usually use psychic sight for that one. And then with clairgustance, the clear sense of taste, I just usually, again, I just say psychic taste. It's usually what I say just because it's easier. But everyone has their own preference, again, of which word they want to use. But, so this one is very similar to taste. And again, it's often used in mediumship. And it can be a really effective way, again, to recognize someone's soul visiting you. Because, for instance, if someone always smells a particular way and you smell that, then you're going to instantly know. A common ones are catching a whiff of perfume or cologne, the smell of cooking, the smell of tobacco, smoke, or strong florals are some really common ones that you would smell. The smells don't usually linger for a long period of time. They're just usually enough for you to smell them and notice it, and then it's gone. So that's a little bit about that one. I'm so sorry, guys, that I can't see your comments, but if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat, and right after this live, I'll pull up all the comments and I will go through them. So if you comment during the live, I will check it immediately. So the next one that we're going to be going over, the fourth clear sense we're going to be talking about, is clairaudience, which is the clear sense of hearing and being able to detect psychic information through the ears. Clairaudience and clairvoyance are the two that I'm more likely to use the clear words, but again, I don't usually. I think clairaudience out of every single one is the word that I use 90% of the time. The rest of them, not. I'm probably just saying psychic and then the sense afterwards. But I digress. So this one is a clear sense of hearing, like I said, being able to detect psychic information through the ears. So this one has a lot of common misconceptions about what it's like to experience it. A lot of people will assume it always means hearing voices externally around you. And yes, that you can hear words being spoken to you, but that one, it's not as common. So the problem is this one gets oftentimes misconstrued with more of the mental health aspect of hearing things. That is where it is very, sort of like a little touchy sometimes, depending on who you're talking to. And when you're trying to do research, if you'll know if you're on a website that is more pagan-based versus different-based, because you're going to hear a lot different when it comes to trying to Google about psychically hearing things. So other ways that clairaudience works is you can feel maybe your ears getting hot for no reason. You can maybe notice words in a song that seem to be perfectly timed to what you're thinking. So for instance, like let's say you're asking like a question in your mind and then literally a song instantly answers you. Things like that. So also thinking of a relative and then like your song with them plays. So like let's say you're sitting in the car and you're trying to reach out and connect to, I don't know, an old friend of yours who has passed away. And then y'all's song that you always like talked about or always made you think of them or whatever pops on immediately. That would be an example of clairaudience. Noticing bangs on the wall that happen in perfect timing, again, with thoughts or questions that you're asking in your mind. So you could, if you're asking in your mind, is someone here with me? And then you instantly hear a bang on the wall, but maybe it's like not happening externally, or maybe it is and other people can't hear it, but instantly, then you might want to take that as like a sign, because the odds of it happening instantly, or if you say, let me hear 2 bangs if someone's here, and then it happens, you know what I mean? Also, if you were to hear, ringing or pressure, or feeling pressure, in your ear. Also, in tarot readings, if you're hearing like a loud yes or no, or if you're doing a tarot reading and you just have like a message, you just feel like you're literally almost hearing someone say this like message to you while you're doing another divination, that would be another example. So, sorry, the kitty cat is meowing at me. Gandalf comes and says hello to everybody. So the next one that we're going to talk about is claircognizance. I'll spell it CLAIR Cognizance. And this is a clear sense of knowing, psychic insight. Basically, just knowing that something is going to happen without knowing why and not really having a reason to know why it would happen. Like something that you would have no way to know, but you just know. An example that like people often think of to like understand what this is talking about would be like a mother's intuition, like how like, for instance, you know, people say like, you know, they just know. That's sort of what I'm talking about. And this can also be used in a sense of past lives where you just know where you were or you just know who you were. So you can use this as an example that like young children or whatever that like swear that they know like, or they know things that there's no way that they would be able to know. You know what I mean? So that's sort of what we're talking about with this one. Or if you are just constantly like calling things in your mind. So like, let's say you're, I don't know, playing a game or something and you like call like a specific outcome, like you just know it's going to happen. You know what I mean? I really wish I could read comments right now. So the next one that we're going to be going over is Clair's Clairsensience. I'll spell it again because I suck at these ones. Clairsensience. That one is a clear sense of feeling, i.e. being able to detect psychic information through your body, through touch. So this is very common like in everyday life if you're relating it to something like more mundane, but it's also, you know, is tied to this. Would be like that gut feeling when you just, you know, you feel it in your body and you're like, no. Also, it can be finely tuning, like your body might be finely tuned to pick up vibrational energy. This can also, like I said, manifest internally and externally, like some of the other ones. And so externally, it could be when you feel something cold or goosebumps in only one part of your body. It could also be used by mediums. That was out of order, but it's very commonly used by mediums. Spirits can give the feeling of maybe how they died. For instance, if someone died from a heart attack, then you might feel heart pain. Or maybe if someone died of cancer of a specific location, then you might feel like pain there. Or like, I know, for instance, Gettysburg and other places that were like really heavy in war, some people, if they experience this clairsentience really strong and they go there, they might feel like a gunshot wound when they're there. But it like, a lot of times spirits express the way that they died through that. Like I said, that internal gut feeling, but like stronger. Maybe like so strong, you know, that you like you can't explain and you like have to listen to it. So take like the mundane gut feeling and then like amp it up. Also, it could be good. It could be like feeling something good is going to come. You know what I mean? It doesn't just have to be bad stuff. It can be good stuff too. So the next one is Clairempathy, which is clear energy or high emotional awareness. And it is a subtle psychic sense that is hard to detect because it is so easily confused with being an empath. And so empathy is normal in human emotions. Being an empath affects like 20% of the population. It's very important as a human to have some level of empathy for others. So clairempathy means being able to feel emotions in advance, or being able to feel the emotions of others when they're nowhere near you or they're not communicating them to you. So mediums might use this sense to channel the emotions of lost loved ones. Psychics might use this to tell you how you felt in your childhood, or maybe tell you how you're going to feel about future events. It can manifest as knowing that something is wrong with a loved one who's on maybe the other side of the world or nowhere near you, just because you can sense that sadness or grief, because your energy is closely linked to that person, so you would be able to psychically feel that. Or it doesn't even necessarily have to be that far away. It could simply be like For instance, that would be like if I'm sitting here right now, you know what I mean, and you're feeling my emotions even though I'm not expressing them, then Clair empathy. There's a great example. So the last one that we're going to chat about is Clair tangency, CLAIRTANGENCY, which is a clear sense of touch, being able to psychically detect information through your hands and touch. This is a sensitive sense of touch that you can pick up on the energy stored within an item using your hands. So some examples, maybe holding an antique and feeling the history that that item has. It could also be holding an object and maybe being able to tell how many hands it's passed through, maybe being able to tell where it was made, maybe being able to tell what the last owner was like. And people that have this might avoid having a lot of old things in their home because they might constantly feel all of the energy around them because the items are constantly soaking up energy. Or maybe somebody that has this really thoroughly cleanses any objects that they bring in because they don't want to feel that. So I will say, though, with the clear sense of touch, being able to cyclically detect information through your hands, you could tie this into Clair empathy, where it could be similar, but it's not the same. So I'm going to provide an example. So let's say you were holding someone's hands, and that is allowing you to like feel and like psychically detect emotions of theirs. I would say that that is Clair tangency because you're doing it through your hands, rather than where Clair empath is being able to do it not being actually connected to them physically, just energetically connected to them. So that's like a way people could confuse the two, but that is a way, so an example, so that way you can see how to separate the two. I hope that helps if anybody was relating that in their mind. So that is all 8 of them. I'm going to go over some closing notes. Oh my gosh. I just had really bad deja vu. Like, real bad. That was so weird. I turned my page of my notes, and that was crazy. Okay, I had to keep going. But I'm going to go over some closing notes. If you have any questions over any of the 8 Clair abilities, please drop them in the comments and I will respond to them again. Sorry that I can't read the chat, but I will say me not being able to read the chat this live is going to be pretty brief, so you can gather your notes and not have to spend too long, and this one's just a little more straight to the point. So how do you know if you have a Clair sense or which one that you have? First off, I will say that the odds of having all of the Clair senses are not high. Again, not impossible. You could have all of them, but not everybody is going to have all of them. I guess I'll counter myself here. Unless you practice in the belief of that everyone has magic and everyone has all of the abilities already internally inside of them and you have to unlock them. I'll counter myself to that. I personally don't believe that everybody has all of the Clair abilities. I do believe that you have like the ability to work on things. So like, let's say you don't have one, you could work it up. Do I think maybe you'll be as, like, for instance, with clairvoyancy, if you do not have like an ounce of being able to see something in front of you, I personally don't believe that even if you put in like a crap ton of work, that you might not actually be able to physically see it in front of you. Maybe could you put in enough work to where you could see things in your mind's eye? I will debate that one, but that's just, again, that's how I personally think. So that's to more your practice specifically. But again, so maybe you have all of them, maybe you don't have any of them, maybe you just have a couple, maybe you just have one. So let's say that, you know, like I got ahead of myself. Say everyone has a little bit of magic in them and you can develop a sense, which is true upon personal belief. See, I even covered myself in my notes. I forgot about that. So the only way to know if you have a sense or not, though, is to spend time trying to connect with it. Because how are you going to know if you have something if you don't ever try to use it? So on that note, how do you work on enhancing one of the Clair senses that you have or that you just want to work on enhancing? I would say grounding and removing any unserving or negative energy within yourself would be a good start. And then grounding to clear and reset your energy is also an option, or just working on balancing the energies within yourself. Also, meditation, dream work, journaling, reflection, and divination within your journaling, and then simply practicing. Practice, practice, practice. You're not going to get anywhere if you don't practice. And like everything else, you're not going to do it perfect on your first time. And that's okay. You have to just pick it up and do it again. But on that note, what if it's just not working, no matter how many times you seem to be practicing it? So what do you do if you feel like one of your clairsenses is being blocked? So if you feel like your clairsense is being blocked, obviously all the things I listed above and how to work on them, I would try those things. But also, you could really dig deep by doing some shadow work. Maybe if, like, let's say you used to be very clairvoyant and then all of a sudden it just went away, maybe really dig into some shadow work. Is something really internally blocking you from being able to continue on psychically on your journey? So digging deep, doing that shadow work. Also, you can reach out to any spirit guides or deities or ancestors or anything else that you work with and talk to them, ask them, work through it with them to try to really work on that. Or bigger one, if you already work with any of the deities or any spirits with a specific Clair sense, usually reach out to that person, reach out to that spirit, because you already usually use that to reach out to them. So do that. So that is all I have for the live, going over the Clair senses. So we touched on what all 8 of them are. We touched on how to know if you have one, how to enhance it, and how to help yourself if you're feeling blocked. So I think that gives us like a well-rounded little beginner base of knowledge. But if anybody else has any questions going over anything in the live, feel free to drop it in the comments. Like I said, I will go over them. I'm glad that this was a nice, short, little sweet one for you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and thank you for joining me for this live. Blessed be.